The Raleigh outbreak. The Raleigh outbreak was an event that occurred in 1990, 3 years before the initial Knox event in the city of Raleigh, North Carolina. A virus called the EVNA infection was running rampant. It was reported that the virus was flesh-eating and fatal, and it was confirmed to have killed one person. This outbreak was responsible for the dismissal of a chief scientist at the Center for Disease Control, who later criticized the CDC regarding the same known event. It is important to note that the Raleigh outbreak may have been accidentally spread by Spiffo in a secret VHS tape titled Secrets of Spiffo's Special Sauce. According to the transcript, someone questions the sauce's relation to the United Kingdom's BSE crisis, also known as mad cow disease. Not only that, but in another VHS tape titled Shows, according to the transcript, the EVNA infection was spreading like wildfire, and there was no response from the military, a seemingly recurring theme. I'll let you do with that information as you will. The official Knox timeline. The beginning of this story starts on April 18, 1993, referencing an event that occurs before the initial timeline. A devastating tornado tears through the town of Brandenburg, destroying homes and leaving hundreds homeless, forced into hotels and trailer parks paid for by the state. Brandenburg is one of the largest towns in Knox County, located northwest on the map and directly west of Riverside. At first, this seems unrelated, but disasters often create ideal conditions for darker things to take hold. Nevertheless, as the lore chronologically unfolds. July 1st. Governor Cal Fairweather attends a press conference in Frankfurt, reassuring citizens that federal funds are in place to rebuild Brandenburg. However, the money has yet to arrive. Residents board up ruined homes with wooden planks. Broken streets remain unrestored. Entire neighborhoods looks abandoned far before the outbreak has even begun. This is where the environmental storytelling begins as players later walk through this very town. Evidence can be seen as boarded structures, damaged roofs, and makeshift repairs silently tell the story of a county already in decline. July 2nd. Without warning, all telecommunications across Knox County fails. Phones die. Businesses cannot contact suppliers. Emergency calls go unanswered and panic spreads quietly. Engineers are seen frantically working on telephone poles throughout the region. Expert Kevin Hogan states that a county-wide outage of this scale is extraordinarily uncommon, which raises an immediate question. Was this incompetence or intentional isolation? If military authorities anticipated a biological emergency, shutting down communications would slow any intel leaks, prevent mass panic, and restrict witness accounts. This is our first strong suggestion of a possible cover-up. July 3rd, the FBI launches Operation Centaur, exposing political corruption tied to toxic waste dumping, bribery, racketeering, and fraud. Governor Cal Fairweather is among those who were mentioned in the files. When taking a closer look, this is the first mention of hazardous contamination in this timeline. Naturally, players and lore analysts questions, was the Knox virus industrial contamination? Maybe a failed attempt at a government experiment? Or something far more sinister hidden behind environmental scandals? The game never confirms this, but deliberately places these clues throughout the timeline. July 4th. July 4th marks a quite controversial moment in the Project Zomboid timeline. Just north of a small town called March Ridge, a military truck carrying hazardous waste was overturned, though the contents of the truck was never revealed to the public. Colonel O'Malley states the material would pose little danger even if it came into contact with the public, which it did not. This caused many residents to be concerned, as this was one of several incidents involving hazardous materials within the county. Reports also cited a recent increase in respiratory illness. The scene was eventually sealed off and secured by military personnel. July 5th. Knox County celebrated its 217th Independence Day as thousands of people took to the streets in celebration. Though telecommunication outages had been ongoing, this did not deter the residents. However, over at the Ohio River, a foul smell was reported emanating from the river. Joan Delahunt, a local geography teacher, theorized that the smell could be caused by invading algae, claiming it was a natural process of decaying seaweed. It is also worth mentioning that a sudden rise in dog attacks began to occur, which can reflect real life, as animals are often in tune with nature, and when a shift in their environment happens, they often react. Officials advised residents to keep their dogs fenced in at all times and under control. July 6th. July 6th marks the beginning of the inevitable decline of Knox County. It has been a week and phone lines are still down. Residents have since resorted to using short-range radios to communicate with authorities, and suddenly all hell breaks loose. The Irvington papers would publish an article stating that a mystery illness had struck locals and overwhelmed authorities. Reports coming from Muldrow stated that an unidentified illness had stricken dozens of residents with symptoms of severe fevers and vomiting. This urgently led March Ridge to open its military hospitals to the public in an effort to contain the illness. Though it was not believed to spread person to person, officials from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention were currently heading to the hospital to aid in the investigation. It was reported that several of the afflicted patients suffered from bites, leaving Janine Cortman, a local doctor, to theorize a sudden rabies outbreak. Dr. Cortman stated that due to the high number of infections, he was currently out of immunoglobulin and was grateful for the military's aid. However, Dr. Cortman also stated that throughout his entire career, he had only seen 3 definite cases of rabies in humans, saying it was very worrying. Not only that, but the fast food chain Spiffo publicly apologized to customers after what was described as a secret sauce shenanigans incident. Head of logistics Paula Impton stated there was a mix-up when a batch of new experimental hot sauce was accidentally redirected. This leaves many to believe that Spiffo played a role in the degradation of society. This would not be the first time Spiffo would be under scrutiny relating to a virus outbreak. July 7th. Staff writer Jeff Franks reports military blockades throughout roads and highways leading to and from Knox County without any definite reasoning for doing so. It was reported that hundreds of military personnel were surrounding thousands of civilians. Many rumors arose, stating it was simply a military exercise. However, due to the current ongoing emergencies, this seemed highly unlikely. Since communication had been down for the past week, residents were left in the dark with no explanation of what was going on.
This is Jackie J reporting for LBMW here at the military blockade to the north of the exclusion zone. It is a scene of drama, anger, and confusion here. We've got folks turning up and trying to get through, and standing in their way are men in camouflage. U.S. Army recruits who 4 days ago were waiting to ship out overseas from local military bases, but who are now checkpoint guards around their former home. And still, no word on the condition of those inside of the zone. We know there's something like an influenza virus in there, but it is localized. There's just a handful of reports of strange behaviors, panic, confusion. I've been told that military scientists are present within the zone. We should hear concrete details tomorrow. If anything else comes out of the exclusion zone, you will be the first to know. Keep safe, Kentucky.
Resident Larry Stoddard stated that while being ordered to move from a checkpoint, the soldiers were apologetic when doing so. At this point, it is pretty clear that the government is withholding information from residents. Opinion writer Keith Haroldson states that with the previous toxic waste leak, the blockade could have something to do with that. However, with the government refusing to be transparent about the situation, this will simply add fuel to conspiracies that soon begin to form. Fast forward to July 12th. The World Health Organization suddenly advises that all flights be suspended worldwide. Though the World Health Organization does not have the legal authority to ground all flights, surprisingly, they did, leaving millions of travelers stranded worldwide. As a result, the European community advised all its members to close their internal and external borders as a safety precaution. Meanwhile, in Louisville, despite riots and unrest in major cities, the streets were much quieter than usual. This is where the first mention of the Knox virus can be seen. Authorities said that the deadly virus only spread through fluid contact, which some compared to Ebola, which was eventually contained. July 13th, an image of a man infected with the virus in a street filled with bloody bodies is leaked. This causes worldwide panic, even among those outside the infection zone. Officials claim that the Knox event is contained. However, residents on the ground say otherwise. Louisville Mayor Terrence Stahl states that a curfew is not needed, though multiple other cities are implementing them, while simultaneously downplaying and denying the rumors.
This is Frank Hemingway taking over coverage of the Knox event from Jackie. It's the end of the second day of the Knox exclusion. Still no word on the contagion. So what do we know? Influenza symptoms brought the towns of West Point and Muldrow to a standstill. And overnight, the blockades appeared. Military sources suggest the area is watertight. There's even boats patrolling the Ohio River. If the checkpoints aren't gone tomorrow, however, the boundary will be tested. We've got concerned locals, evacuated families, and, yep, more news teams turning up every hour. Everyone wants to get in, just as we assume the residents want to get out. We're promised answers tomorrow from one General John McGrew. We can't wait to hear them, General. Better make them good. Frank Hemingway, LBNW.
July 14th, General John McGrew makes a public statement urging residents that there is no need to panic. He states that the virus is degenerative, claiming its spread is contained across hundreds of square miles in the state of Kentucky. Despite these assurances, the President of the United States decides to leave the capital, unrelated to the virus outbreak. Keith Haroldson, a staff writer for New York, stated that 38 nations issued a joint statement through the United Nations denouncing the complete lack of clarity over the details of the Knox outbreak, directly after General John McGrew downplayed its severity. Meanwhile, Vatican City is being closed, and the Pope calls for people to turn to prayer during these dark times. July 15th, the infected overwhelm the Knox border. Staff writer Molly Ayoide reports at approximately 5 a.m. that hundreds of infected with the Knox virus broke through a military barricade from inside the exclusion zone. Heavy fire from military personnel was unable to stop the infected advance and was forced to retreat. Unfortunately, 100 Army personnel and civilians were killed, while hundreds others were wounded. It is reported that the sound of gunfire attracted even more of the infected, forcing military personnel and refugees near the border to retreat back into Louisville. Large groups of the infected migrated into the city, where they were met with resistance from armed civilians. Traffic jams appeared all over the city as residents attempted to flee but were unable to do so. Riots and looting in other major cities began to ramp up as citizens started stockpiling food, ammunition, and other goods. It is worth noting that at this time, Doris Hunt, a staff writer, stated that the virus may spread through the air. This is due to residents outside the exclusion zone claiming to have fallen ill with symptoms, despite not coming into contact with an infected individual. This directly contradicted the official narrative of transmission and may hint at how the virus is actually spread. In Project Zomboid, we are playing a less aggressive version. In a similar newspaper report, the Tennessee legislature voted on providing free firearms for residents. The topic of how to deal with the virus was briefly discussed, including where safe zones could be set up, quarantine of the infected, and implementing a shoot-to-kill policy. On July 16th, it is officially confirmed. The Knox virus spreads through the air. The final publication from the Herald relays a special message, thanking all of its readers for staying tuned and urging the few who may be immune to carry out the duty of continuing civilization. It states, "The virus is in Louisville. Several people have been compromised, and there are hundreds of infected roaming the streets." An image is published showing residents in a vehicle narrowly escaping the infected. It is also hinted that the infection may already be global. The CDC also confirms that the virus spreads rapidly through the air, and the likelihood of a cure is close to zero.
This is Jackie J. I'm here at the checkpoints to the north of the Knox exclusion zone. I'm here with Denise, who has a story to tell. Denise, you were one of the last out of the zone, am I right?
I was. My mom's still in there.
And have you heard from her?
Nothing. Phones are out. These guys all standing between us.
The Army, yes. And how did you get out?
Well, we heard the helicopters all the way through. One was ill, high temperature, a little sleepy. Nothing serious, I thought. I was going to work at gas station early, like every morning. I saw these guys in plastic suits, bright yellow.
Hazard suits, Denise?
I guess. Anyway, I saw them down the road. Thought it was weird, but everything's weird at 4 a.m., right? Then I drive through, get taken aside, and shine a light into my eyes, take a blood sample, give me left tight until like 10 minutes ago. Then they say I'm clear and kick me out. Then I meet you. What's going on, Jackie?
We don't know just yet, Denise. But from what I've been told, your mom will be fine.
You knew that?
I don't know that. I've been told that. Keep close, Denise, and you'll know what I know. Just like the guys listening will. Keep safe, Kentucky.
Redemption. After all is said and done, with the government having experienced 2 similar outbreaks before the Knox virus, it's hard to ignore the pattern. Spiffo's name is mentioned 3 times throughout this timeline. Multiple public figures successfully downplay the situation when, in reality, it's far worse than they're telling us. Knox County has been abandoned, left with no electricity, no running water, no food, and no medical supplies. It's safe to say they aren't coming back anytime soon, and since the virus is airborne with cases already appearing outside the exclusion zone, it's only a matter of time before the rest of the country is consumed. However, unlike everyone else, when everything falls apart, you'll be ready for whatever comes your way. If you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching.